So here we are, the second game of the third round of Swiss. Again, once again, me on the right there playing Weyland, and Taurian on the left playing Gabe. So obviously I lost the first game. Fast approaching a mind dungeon zone, really, it has to be said at this stage. I'm obviously, as you've already seen, not having the best tournament of my life, and something that I'm very conscious of the fact. So I've also now taken a mulligan with my opening hand of Weyland, so I'm stuck with what I have. Taurian was quite happy with his opening hand, so he didn't mulligan, I did. So we go straight off into the first game. I install, and take a credit, so not even a beanstalk or a hedge fund to use there. And now we're going to play the game called Count How Many Times I Have to Res the Chimeras. I hope you guys can keep track. So here's number 1. So we'll res Chimera, choose a code gate. He will then run on R&D, at which point I'm making the decision as to whether or not to res the second Chimera for number 2. Not really what you want to see as your opening pieces of ice, it has to be said, because this is going to cost me a fortune, ladies and gentlemen. The problem with running 3 pointers in the deck is that you have to keep them out of R&D. I know my hand has agendas in, I'm pretty sure it was an unpleasant opening hand as well. And so as a result, I had to keep resing those Chimeras. It was the only way, and even if I didn't have anything in HQ, the last thing you need to do is keep hitting things like a count cipher and so forth. But anyway, so he installs a data sucker. I then take my mandatory draw. I've got a punitive in hand. I have a Project Atlas, it looks like. I'm going to score out the hostile takeover, of which I'm pretty sure I have 2. So I'll take the money and give him the bad pub to play with and score the 1 point. Obviously those de-res. He then runs again for Chimera number 3. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be immense fun for one and all. Now, with 3 points of agendas worth in hand, it's not really worth me doing anything crazy, particularly if I only have the 1 punitive. So he'll run R&D, I make the decision as to whether I'm going to res or not. I decide to, again, the 3 pointers, I didn't want to take the risk. So once again, I think one's at a code gate, one's at a sentry. So we're up to 4 Chimeras resed. And obviously with data suckers down as well, it's another reason to keep them out. Excuse me. So I see the restructure, which is really just rubbing salt onto an open wound at this stage, because there's absolutely no way on earth I'm ever going to get to the point of being able to afford a restructure. I'm also at the stage here now where it's like, what do I do? Do I ice up HQ? Do I ice up R&D? Against Gabe, it's a difficult situation. So he will run. I will res the ice wall rather than resing the Chimera, which obviously makes perfect sense. He will then run R&D. Again, I'm making the decision as to whether I want to res it. Do I want to try and hold on to my money for the restructure? I'm going to let him run, at which point he doesn't... Oh, sorry, he sees a snare, which I can't trigger because I only have 3 credits. Great. This is just, unfortunately, my nature of luck at the moment. So he runs again and sees government contract. Yes, that's right. He takes the 3-point agenda off the top of my deck. But hey, at least I saved money not resing the Chimera, right? I do see a punitive counter-strike in hand, so that's great. It's a shame I can't afford both, because I don't have the money for it. Otherwise it would have been an instant win. But alas, I don't have the money for both, and so I can't kill him. Punitive is, I think, 3 credits a shot. Something like that. I'm sure it is. I'm sure it's 3 credits a shot. It's a trace 5, so he couldn't afford to beat the traces. If I could have afforded both, I would have won. But I didn't. So it's all a bit irrelevant, really. So as a result, I just take some money. Possibly in the hope that it happens again, though I'm not going to hold my breath on that one. He will play a Day Corroder for 2, first click. Second click, he will run HQ. Again, putting that pressure on my hand. I will res the Chimera. That's res number 5 for those of you keeping count. Oh no, 4 or 5? 5 I think it is. So obviously I keep him out there. He'll then run through on R&D. And at this point I'm kind of like, well, I still can't afford the double punitive. If he hits a 3-pointer, it's pretty much game over. So I'll res Chimera number 6. And I tell him to take that data sucker token off because he didn't actually have a successful run, the cheeky blighter. I'm sure he wasn't doing it on purpose. But yeah, so it's a difficult situation at this stage because he's all over me. the chimeras are not helping my situation. As I say, the only economy I've actually seen so far all game is a restructure, which, you know, again, the irony is not lost on me there. Seeing another agenda there, Project Atlas, so I've got 4 points worth of agendas in hand, still no economy, and I'm having to just click the credits in order to be able to afford to keep them out, because otherwise I'm dead. So I discard a card. And all he has to do now at this point is just keep running. Eventually he'll buy himself the time he needs to be able to see the cards he wants. But, you know, 2 clicks to make me spend 4 credits is not a bad swap. Not a bad swap at all, particularly because he's still, you know, 3-1 up. He's seen the government contracts, which is a real problem for me. Again, I've got to take the risks here, because if I don't, I'm not going to see any kind of money cards or economy cards. If I keep resing that Chimera on R&D, I'm going to stay skint for the rest of the game, and I realise that that is definitely the problem here. Keeping him out of HQ is advantageous because he doesn't get his Gabe credits, and obviously he doesn't get the data sucker. I think he's still owed 1 data sucker there. So I draw, see a C source, which is going to do me a whole world of good here. Draw again, see a wall of static. I don't have the money to both install and res it, which is a problem. This is the kind of point where you want to see all of your archers. So I take credits and discard some cards. Unfortunately, I'm in a position where I can't really afford to get rid of much in my hand, because I've got a buttload of agendas and no Jackson Howard. So he'll run again. I'll res the Chimera. He'll run again, and again I'm making the decision that I just can't afford it, so he steals another Project Atlas, taking him up to 5 points. So I've got 2 Atlases in hand, he's got 1 on the board now, so that's all the Atlases in play, so to speak. He's on 5 points now, so it's not a huge amount I can do about this. I'm not feeling confident, needless to say, at this stage, and certainly as the games have progressed throughout the day, my confidence grew less. So I've seen a Hadrian's Wall there, which is obviously exactly the piece of ice I needed to see. Yeah, 10 credits. I'm sure I'll be able to res that just about the same point as I can use that restructure, which I'm pretty sure I've discarded into archives. So I've seen a hedge fund. That's good at the very least. So at which point I take some money in the hope that I can actually use that hedge fund in the future. Again, I'm having to discard a lot of the cards I want to keep because of what I've got in hand. So he'll run through on HQ. I will res. I still have the money here to be able to go credit hedge fund and start getting ahead of the game economically. He will run R&D. I'm going to guess here I don't res. Indeed, I don't. I just have to take the risk. He's keeping himself out of snare range as well by keeping me on 3 credits, so that's strong. That's already been his advantage once. It looks like he's got a couple of indexings in hand. That's a problem for me as well. Obviously, at any stage he uses index, I'll be raising that Chimera. There's no way I'm going to let him see 5. And he hit the easy mark. So I think I've drawn a Scorch there. Again, at this stage, it's just not looking likely. Oh no, sorry. Yeah, so I credit hedge fund. I did see a Scorched, which I have in hand. So I'm starting to get a little bit ahead of the curve economically now, which is good. I am still 5 points to 1 down. Not so good. He has the Corroder and he has the Data Suckers. So he's going to draw first click. And he just wants to make me work here, and absolutely I don't blame him. I have to keep him out because otherwise I've got real problems. He doesn't look like to have any kind of breakers, to be fair, so I'm going to keep him out again here, purely because otherwise the next, well, if he pulls another agenda it's pretty much game over unless it's a hostile takeover, of which there's only 1 left in the deck. So it's a difficult situation. So I've drawn up there into I think what looks like a shadow. Draw again, see a Jackson Howard, which could possibly help me to stabilise my position. So I'm going to install it and res it and use it to draw 2, and I'm going to start trying to stabilise my board here. So I've got a cleaners in hand, so I had that from the start, I'm pretty sure. I've got the 2 project atlases, so I've actually got 7 points of agendas in hand. I'm just going to discard them all at this stage, just to try and stabilise my board position. He's going to run archives, at which point I say, yeah, not so much. I'm going to shuffle them back into R&D. Probably should have kept 1 in hand. It's a difficult one. I didn't have any Ender and Ice that wasn't barriers at this stage, whether it be a wall of static or even a Hadrian's Wall. And as a result, I had no way of securing a remote server to score into. The Shadow obviously wasn't going to do it. I haven't seen any Enigmas, I haven't seen any Archers. I'm not even sure if the deck's running Archers, actually, I can't quite recall. But yeah, it goes through and has a look, so I've discarded the restructures that were absolutely no use to me whatsoever. He has a look at the rest, there's nothing else in there. And the Jackson Howard has now left the table, but I do have another one in hand by the looks of it. He'll run through HQ, at which point I say, go ahead, I've got nothing to hide. Obviously he still gets his Data Sucker and Gabe credits. Not particularly ideal, it has to be said, but I can't afford to keep resing the Chimera. Obviously have to res it on R&D. I think we're up to double figures now on Chimera resing, just for those of you who are still keeping count. I'm not, but I'm sure someone can tell me in the comments section how many times I have to res Chimera. But it's got to be double figures at this stage. Literally all my money is just being sapped out here as I go. I'm not seeing a huge amount of it in hand. Looks like I've drawn up into, I think, Project Atlas there. I'm going to install res and use Jackson Howard. And twice, do it again. So I'm going to have a look and see what I've got. New EMP there in hand, Scorched. I think I'm going to ditch the agenda. It looks like I don't have any Enigmas or the ice that I need. Here with the barrier breaker out. This is the problem with an over-reliance on barriers, particularly with Weyland. As soon as the Corroder hits the table, which it did very early on in this game, you run into some significant problems with end the runs. And in a deck with 3 pointers, that's a problem. The punitives at this stage are pointless, which I think I've already discarded them, because he's on 5 points, so the next agenda wins anyway. Res the Chimera, put it in as a code gate, lock him out. He'll run through on hand. This is why I'm having to ditch the agendas. So he sees an early MP, but takes his lovely Gabe money and a Data Sucker. So he's putting me in a worse economic position, and at the same time gaining a stronger economic position himself. He will run through on R&D, at which point I will use Jackson again, because I've ditched, I think, 2 agendas, maybe 1 agenda. Either way, it's the game-winning one. That's why I had to get rid of it. I had to take it out of hand. Yeah, so the punitives have gone. I'm going to put the hedge fund back in because I'm way short on cash. I'm going to put the sea source back in, and I'll just try and scare him off and make him spend some time to find a Plascrete. That's the idea there. Time is precious at this stage. I'm not feeling confident of an agenda win by any stretch, but the flatline win's a possibility if I can get my economy back up to scratch. He hasn't seen a Plascrete yet. And so at that stage, this, Scorched is still very viable. He could potentially hit a snare in R&D, or like I say, I can get the sea source Scorched on him. But he's in a stronger economic position than me at the moment. He has the Data Sucker on the board as well. It's going to be challenging. If he keeps making me res that Chimera on R&D, I've got real problems. Really, at this stage, I was just looking for the Enigma, which would have solidified my board position beautifully. I've got 3 in the deck and was hopeful that I would see it. So I draw, play Beanstalk, and then play a hedge fund. So economy is looking a bit better, a bit sharper. Taking me up to 12, I think. It looks like that Taurian's on a little bit more, about 14 or so. He's going to special order, first click. I think maybe second click, actually. I think he drew first click, but either way. He's going to go and find a Fem. He's going to Fem the Chimera. So I won't be resing that anymore. He's going to index and look at the top 5, and obviously at this stage you're kind of thinking, yeah, that's going to be the game. And unbelievably it's not. So I literally said to him at that point, he says, "Is that it? Have you got it sewn up?" And he said, "No, I do not." So top 5 cards, he didn't see any agendas. In truth, I'm not humongously surprised, given that a lot of them have left the building, and well, I guess they've re-entered R&D at this stage as well. But 9 agendas in the deck, and I swear that I seem to see at least 5 of them, the top 10 cards of R&D every game. Admittedly, I'm playing like a gibbering monkey as well, but again, somewhat unfortunate. This was not my tournament, ladies and gentlemen. Go back and watch January's tournaments again. I won that one, and make me feel better about myself, about saying good things about me, rather than, you know, this, which is just hideous and horrible. At the very least, hopefully I'm getting all my bad luck out of the way in time for our store championships on the 8th of May. All are welcome, of course, so come along. It's Saturday the 8th of May. There are details on our forums at Netrunners.co.uk. Have a look. Come join us. You can beat me, as everyone does, and have immense fun in the process. Pick up some lovely alt art cards and rejoice. So I've managed to solidify R&D a little bit. I can't remember what I put there, to be honest, but can't be all that bad. He runs, sees the shadow, gets his gate money. And this is the problem here now at this stage. It's that I cannot keep him from gaining an economic position. He's seen another indexing there as well. I can't keep him from seeing what he needs to see. So this is a real problem. And with an extra indexing now, even more issues. Survived it once. If I survive it twice, it'll be a small miracle. Probably a major one. But at least I have money in the bank. My days of Resin Chimera are somewhat at an end, although the damage has certainly been done. Looks like he has a couple of account siphons there. He's obviously not going to do anything so foolish as to leave tags on at this stage. I'm pretty sure he knows I'm holding on to Scorched. He's certainly seen the Neurally MP in hand at the very least. I do have a double Scorched, but I don't have the Sea Source in hand as yet. Drawing up there into a hedge fund. I'm going to draw again. I think I'm looking for it quite desperately. And I'll play the hedge fund. And I'm getting rid of the ice. At this stage it is just... Oh, I've seen the Enigma. Oh, I'm getting rid of the Enigma. Yeah, that's a bad play. Should have put the Enigma down in front of R&D there, really. Could have bought myself some additional time. Again, sometimes you see things differently when you go back and watch the videos, as often is the case. So he's having a think as to how he wants to go about and plan his attack here. He's going to run through on HQ. Again, he gets to run through for free with his bad publicity every turn, and he takes lots and lots of lovely gate money. He runs, sees the Scorched Earth, so he knows what he has to expect now. Has enough data circuit tokens for the foreseeable future. Has an account siphon there, definitely. It's a question as to whether he wants to use it. It's a good, again, it's a viable defence against Sea Source. He can beat my trace if he account siphons me without any problems whatsoever. It's a 15-point credit swing, and that's not to be sneezed at when it comes to beating the trace. And you have time to clear the tags as well. But then he's on 5 points. There's no immediate rush. There's no reason to do anything stupid. I'm only on 1 agenda point. He knows that Scorched is the threat. It's just about whether he can afford to keep me out trace-wise. He'll run through an R&D. See nothing. Didn't res. I can't even remember what it is on top of R&D there. I think it might be a Hadrian's. Obviously, with the same old thing down, he can play the indexing as well. I have to try and leave him uncertain so that that doesn't happen. I didn't know he had one in hand as well, but either way I knew now that the indexing was back in play again, and I had to be very careful with the position I left myself in. Discarding a Sneak Door Beta, which he certainly doesn't need in this game at the moment. So I've got some money cards in hand, I've got some economy. I still haven't seen the sea source, I don't think, unless that was what I've just drawn up. It may be, which is why I'm probably trying to do the math. Yeah, I think it was actually. Yeah, it is. So that's the sea source that I've just top decked there with a mandatory draw. I'm on 15 credits, 16 credits, and he is on 13 without any link. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that I don't have the money here to be able to sea source double scorched. Close, but no cigar. And again, I'm just kind of going through, doing my maths, making sure that that's the case. It's often, you know, you do have to double check these things. So I'll draw, see another scorched earth. That's not going to do me any good now at this stage. What I need to do is take some money. So I've got a hedge fund, sorry, beanstalk royalties rather. And I now need to get ahead of him economically. But I've got nothing to tax him, no ice that it costs him any money to break through. The only way here I'm going to... so I'm going to play, I've drawn up another beanstalk, I'm going to play one. The only way I'm going to win here is by draining him of money, and I've got nothing to drain him with, because he's got infinite amount of data soaker tokens. He's got obviously a sentry breaker, and he's got a barrier breaker. The only thing he doesn't have is the code gate breaker, so I mean, again, if I can get him to pay the money for a Yogg, so much the better. He is going to satellite uplink and see a Grim. So it's a Grim on top of there of the Chimera. He's going to index. Again, obviously I know here that I can't really keep him out. All I can do is drain him economically. Drain his data suckers. But it costs me 6 credits, 7 credits, and it's going to cost him less to get through. All I'm doing is weakening my own position here for the flatline win, which I have in hand. I have the sea source, I have the double scorched, but at the same time he's seeing 5 cards. So you know, what do you do? I know, you know, it's an all or nothing gambit now for me. So he will lower down the strength of the Grim, break through with the bad pub. At this stage I'm like, well, doesn't really make any difference I think whether I res it or not, so I'll res it just in case, so make him pay another credit to break. He sees the top 5 cards of R&D, and ladies and gentlemen, as I'm sure you can probably imagine, that is the game. So he sees, I think, 3 agendas there in hand, 3 agendas on the top 5. It wouldn't matter, he only needed 1. Again, I had the means to flatline him as I'm showing him, but I didn't have the cash. Close in many respects, in the sense that, you know, a little bit stronger economy, could have done it. The Chimeras were the killer. Having to res those Chimeras over and over and over again changed the dynamic of the game. But as a result, for those of you keeping score, that now means I have won 1 game, and I have lost 5. So an absolutely fantastic record that I take into the final round of Swiss, which I shall be bringing you shortly. I hope you enjoyed these games, at least more than I did, and I will see you again for the last round.